it's fair for me to say that simply rejecting the plan won't make the problem go away. I don't think that doing nothing remains an option. I think there is, from the people I talk to in your community, a desire to have a plan and a desire to continue to work towards a good plan. We have tried to make a starting point. We've tried to strike a balance where we can try and work together a bit better in the future than we have in the past.
Tony Burke is here, and I do acknowledge him for his courage to come and to listen. I know he's been writing down a lot of words. I hope he puts those words into action when he goes back to Canberra.
I hope it's his resignation.
Next year, we'll have a document that I will then have to put my name to at some point, which will be a plan for the basin. What numbers are in that, what the actual content of that is, when we get to that final plan, will be driven heavily by the full range of consultation which occurs, including here and including the many communities where there are wildly different views. At the moment, and I thank them for this, the Coalition have said that they are remaining at the table. They want to work this through. We've got the leader of the opposition here, and I think it's important right from the start that he gets the opportunity to share the microphone.
We will not support a bad plan. We want a plan that secures your future. And we should try to put more water into the river for environmental purposes. But we can't put more water into the river for environmental purposes in ways that destroy your livelihoods and damage these communities.
Minister Beck, can I ask you, please use your water smartly like my dad?
Can I unequivocally rule out going in and taking water from an irrigator? And the answer to that is yes. We do not engage in compulsory acquisition.
The infrastructure investment should be the first to get the water savings and not to hurt the families and communities in the basin. If you fix up the infrastructure that has had no investment for between 80 and 90 years, you get your water savings and communities prosper and you get a win-win. The only person that could do a worse job in your portfolio in diplomacy would be Bob Breer.
We now have billions of dollars getting out the door and shovels in the ground for infrastructure projects starting. People were right to be frustrated when year after year after year, billions of dollars had been earmarked for infrastructure and hardly any of it was getting out the door. I don't think anyone in this room would argue with the fact that if you get a gain from infrastructure, then you do get an outcome that favours the environment, but you also get better efficiencies for people involved in food production, and that is a good outcome.
This plan says to our children that they have no future in the basin. So my question is to you, Minister, who is going to run these farms? Who is going to produce the food in this nation?
The concept of going back to not having massive food production in the area is something that no one's seeking, that even the numbers that are in front of us don't do. There's two separate questions. One is how big is the gap that we need to bridge, and the second question is how do we get there? And to the extent that we get there through infrastructure improvements, it only helps the community. To the extent that we get there where somebody has new technology and they have a surplus entitlement and they sell that, to that extent you get an environmental outcome with no hit to the community. But I don't begrudge for one moment the point that was made loud and clear by the community members who are here, which is if someone decides to get out of irrigation altogether, it might be fine for the irrigator to make that choice if that's what they've made, but there are downstream impacts on the community that can't be ignored.
What is missing from the Basin Plan, unfortunately, is the environmental watering plan, or your business case, if you like. The responsibility for developing these long-term watering plans has been given to the basin states, and they don't need to be completed for another 3 years. Without these plans, we are at a loss to understand how the MDBA could arrive at an amount of water needed for the environment.
Where the guide was a year ago was a prescriptive cut of water all on one day, and the plan should start now, 2012 and 2011. because we've been able to build in the 7 years to 2009 where the numbers don't actually clock in until 2019, and because communities such as yours have said to me, we think we can show you a smarter way of managing water if you just build this into the framework, then the environmental watering plan can be built with a whole lot more local engagement and a lot of local knowledge than might otherwise exist.
Not as hostile as last time. Everybody was heard and everybody had a fair go, even Tony Burke.
I think they've both got very difficult jobs and I wouldn't like to be doing it.
They haven't listened. They've sat there, but you know that they haven't really listened.
I think they're both working hard for what they need to do. I think there's certainly more work to be done and looking at certainly a lot more balance within it. But yeah, I feel they're listening, yes.
I think it was good to see they both come here. They're both willing to stand up and answer questions. I'd just like to see them go back and see that some of the other issues are properly explored to see if we can have the healthy river with less impact on irrigation community.
I was very encouraged by today. I think people had, big questions to ask. They had lots of passion and we had a bit of humour as well. And, it was a big rambunctious meeting where people let us know they didn't like what we were selling, and that's not a bad thing. I think the message is they want a plan, they just want a better one. And my commitment is to keep working with them to do just that.